Chequers, the country residence of British Prime Ministers, is no stranger to history. From Winston Churchill to Margaret Thatcher, from Tony Blair to Theresa May, the Tudor-style mansion in Buckinghamshire has been a quiet witness to world-shaping conversations. And on this September day in 2025, it once again becomes the backdrop for diplomacy at the highest level. US President Donald Trump, on his second state visit to the United Kingdom, arrives to be greeted by Prime Minister Keir Starmer and his wife, Victoria. The images of their handshake and warm exchange outside the grand entrance quickly circle the globe. The symbolism is unmistakable. Britain and America reaffirming ties, even as disagreements simmer beneath the surface. Only yesterday, Windsor Castle hosted Trump with pomp and ceremony, a royal welcome steeped in tradition. That was spectacle, a reminder of the deep history between the two nations. But here at Chequers, the tone changes. Less about pageantry, more about politics. The cameras capture smiles, but behind closed doors, the agenda is formidable. Trade, Ukraine, Gaza, the three issues that dominate today's meeting. Trade is perhaps the most urgent. The United Kingdom, years after Brexit, is still searching for solid economic footing. Starmer faces pressure at home to secure a trade deal that protects British industries while opening new markets. For Trump, the priority is clear: America first. He has arrived with negotiating positions toughened by domestic political calculations. Agriculture, financial services, technology, these are the battlegrounds where each side will push hard for concessions. Chequers has often been the site of difficult negotiations. Theresa May brought her ministers here in 2018 to hammer out the ill-fated Brexit plan. Today, Starmer hopes this historic setting might inspire progress rather than division. A successful agreement with the United States could strengthen his government and stabilise Britain's economy. For Trump, the optics of winning economic advantage abroad are valuable as he heads into the later stages of his presidency. Yet trade is not the only topic at stake. The war in Ukraine casts a heavy shadow over this meeting. Since Russia's invasion in 2022, the UK has been one of Kyiv's most vocal and consistent supporters, providing weapons, training and political backing. Starmer has pledged to continue that support. But Trump's position is far less predictable. He has often urged negotiations with Moscow, suggesting that Europe should shoulder more of the burden. For America's allies, these remarks raise difficult questions about the future of Western unity. Inside Chequers, Starmer is expected to press Trump for clarity. Will the United States continue to guarantee European security? Will it stand firmly with Ukraine until its sovereignty is restored? Or is Washington's patience wearing thin? These questions are not abstract. They touch on the credibility of NATO itself and the security architecture that has held since the Second World War. Allies from Paris to Warsaw will watch closely for signals emerging from today's discussions. Then there is Gaza, a conflict that has reignited passions across the globe. The most recent escalation has drawn condemnation, protests and diplomatic turmoil. Britain's position has been to call for restraint, urging all sides to respect humanitarian law. Trump, however, has remained steadfast in his support for Israel, often dismissing international criticism. This difference could prove difficult to bridge. Starmer must balance the humanitarian expectations of Britain's international image with the pragmatic reality of needing Washington's cooperation. For the two leaders, Gaza represents more than foreign policy. It is a test of values. Britain, shaped by its colonial past and its role in the Middle East, must navigate its position carefully. America, under Trump, projects power through a lens of loyalty to Israel and suspicion toward international institutions. Whether they find common ground at Chequers remains uncertain. Beyond the specific agenda items, today's meeting is layered with symbolism. Trump's unprecedented second state visit to the UK underscores the enduring significance of the special relationship, but it also highlights the unpredictability of modern diplomacy. Can two leaders with such different styles, Starmer, methodical and legalistic, Trump, brash and transactional, find common cause? The body language on the steps of Chequers is studied carefully by analysts. The handshake is firm, the smiles deliberate, the photographs choreographed. For television audiences, these moments are simple. For diplomats, they are signals. Is there warmth in the relationship? Is there tension? Does either leader seek to dominate the stage? Inside the House, away from cameras, the conversation turns serious. Advisors shuffle briefing papers, negotiators prepare their talking points. Both leaders know that expectations are high. The British public demands results from Starmer. American voters will judge Trump's every move. And the international community sees this as a test of transatlantic resolve. Chequers itself, with its centuries-old oak beams and manicured gardens, adds gravitas to the proceedings. It is a setting designed to inspire reflection and seriousness. Yet history shows that even here, deals can unravel, words can fail, and alliances can strain. As discussions unfold, protests gather beyond the gates. Supporters and critics of Trump's visit voice their opinions. For some, his presence signals a reaffirmation of friendship. For others, it represents division, a reminder of controversial policies and rhetoric. The contrast between the calm interior of Chequers and the noise outside reflects the divided world these leaders must navigate. Observers note that today's meeting is about more than immediate issues. It is also about legacy. For Starmer, it is a chance to demonstrate leadership on the world stage, to show that Britain remains a player in global affairs despite its economic challenges. For Trump, it is an opportunity to reinforce his image as a deal-maker, someone who bends international politics to his will. But legacies are unpredictable. The archives of Chequers are filled with moments of triumph and failure. Agreements celebrated one day have unravelled the next. Leaders once hailed as partners have later clashed. The weight of history presses heavily on both men as they attempt to shape their own chapter in this long story. The wider world watches closely. In Kyiv, in Tel Aviv, in Brussels and Washington, policymakers wait for signals. Will America and Britain stand united, or will cracks begin to show? In international politics, perception often matters as much as outcome. A strong handshake, a carefully worded statement, a shared press conference, all these elements send messages that ripple across continents. Yet behind the pageantry and diplomacy lies the human element. Two leaders, shaped by different experiences and ideologies, sit across a table at Chequers. They debate, they disagree, perhaps they compromise. What passes between them in private may determine policy that affects millions. And though we may not hear their exact words, the consequences of those conversations will be felt worldwide. As the day draws to a close, the doors of Chequers shut once again. The press corps waits outside, cameras poised for the leaders' departure. Will they emerge with a joint statement, smiling once more for the cameras, or will silence speak louder than words? History tells us that Chequers has always been more than a house. It is a stage where the personal becomes political, where the private shapes the public, where the fate of nations can be nudged by the tone of a conversation. Today is no different. For Trump, this visit is a performance as much as it is diplomacy. For Starmer, it is a test of leadership and resolve. Together, they represent two democracies bound by history, but challenged by the realities of a shifting world. From Windsor's regal traditions to Chequers' political gravity, the arc of this state visit captures the balance Britain must strike, honouring its history while confronting its future. Whether agreements are signed or not, the symbolism of these days will endure. And so, as the sun sets over Buckinghamshire, Chequers once again fades into its usual quiet. But the echoes of today's meeting will linger in headlines, in diplomatic cables, in the cautious calculations of allies and adversaries alike. The story of this state visit, like so many before, is still being written. Its final chapter may not be known for months, perhaps years, but for now, Chequers has once again stood at the crossroads of history, where Britain and America, allies yet often uneasy partners, attempt to shape a world in turmoil.